And then there's the family. It's a terrible blow to learn that your child has suffered a serious mental illness. The reaction of a lot of the families is of guilt. I can't have brought them up properly. Perhaps the potty training was wrong. This is where it's important to stress that this is an illness, this is a chemical illness, that nobody is to blame for this. We do not now believe in the schizophrenogenic mother or skews and schisms in the family or double binds. This is an illness. Sometimes the family go into denial and say, oh, no, this is just too much cannabis and he'll be fine, and no, he doesn't need to bother after this, he's better. This is not what one should advise. One should advise keeping on with medicines, keeping on seeing them. Sometimes the family are really fearful. People who are psychotic can be really quite alarming, and the fear is not unreasonable. But they need reassurance, and of course the person needs treatment so that they don't need to be feared. Then there are the negative symptoms of schizophrenia. The lack of motivation, the blunting of affect, all the damage which is done to the emotional mechanisms. These the family find especially difficult to put up with, and the family need to be told that this is part of the illness. These are part of the symptoms of schizophrenia. They're not just being negative or bolshy or unloving from sinfulness. Sometimes they've gone back to being a teenager again. Okay, perhaps they had got through that stage and the separation from parents and becoming independent. And now they've fallen ill and they're back being a teenager again with all the teenage problems. Then there's the question of EE, which is expressed emotion. A psychiatrist called Bebbington looked at the families of people with schizophrenia, and he divided them into high expressed emotion or low expressed emotion families. Now, the low expressed emotion families were just that. They didn't show a lot of emotion. They were fairly laid back. They just let him get on with it. They weren't unkind, but there wasn't a lot of emotion about. The high expressed emotion families, the emotion could be positive or it could be negative. It could be very solicitous. How are you today, dear? Do you want to go out? Shall I come with you? Can I do that for you? A lot of emotion, even although it was trying to be helpful. Sometimes, of course, the emotion would be negative. Oh, get on. There's nothing on with you. Get a job. Get a life. Snap out of it. It didn't matter whether the emotion was positive or negative. There was a lot of it about. These were high expressed emotion families. And people with schizophrenia in a high expressed emotion family would break down much more frequently than people in a low expressed emotion family. Bebbington went further, actually, and he would suggest that mum goes out to work, patient goes to day centres. He would try and separate them, and he found that if he could reduce the contact between the sufferer and the family to 35 hours a week, they actually did better. Sometimes, of course, this is a reason why people should live away from home. And it's all quite logical. In schizophrenia, the thought processes are difficult. There is a thought disorder, but there is also a disorder of affect, of emotion. The emotional mechanisms do not work as well either. So if you have a lot of emotion, then this is a major stress for the system. I think parents should be told or encouraged to get in touch with voluntary organisations like the National Schizophrenia Fellowship and MIND. And these organisations can offer reassurance to the parents and help them feel that they're not unique in their difficulties in coping with their offspring. Okay, I've been talking really mainly about the people whose onset is 15 to 25, and therefore this is their formative years. A quarter of cases of schizophrenia are older, and they may be much older. They may be in their 40s, 50s. These have a different set of problems. Somebody who develops schizophrenia later in life is going to have a matured personality. So they're likely to be less disintegrated by the illness, but they're also likely to be more paranoid. They're likely to have established themselves in work, with the family, and these may or may not survive the illness. Sometimes it's easier, okay, if somebody is able to get back to a family, back to a job, gradually of course, then that makes the rehabilitation easier. Sometimes it doesn't help. You can get the situation where the sufferer becomes the fifth wheel in the family. Okay, mum is sometimes all right, and sometimes she's odd, and sometimes she goes into hospital, but the family support her, but they just roll on without her. So mum is not part of a decision making, if any decisions are to be made. Mum never gets hold of the remote control on the television. They just go on, and she becomes a fifth wheel. And you, of course, are trying to encourage her to do more. You say, you know, now how about starting to do a little shopping? How about doing the washing up? Oh no, Dad does the shopping on his way home from work. And oh well, the children do the washing up. They've got a rota. And this, of course, is not what you want. You're wanting the patient, as their rehabilitation, to gradually do more. And the family can be a bit of a drag in that circumstances. So the family need to be told what the aims are so that they can be more helpful.